Welcome to An Awful World, but not awful like you think.
This is the show where we discuss whether we would have discovered important advances in a world exclusively full of Haylies and Libbys. I'm Haylie.
And I'm Libby. And today we're talking about music. Music. What a great topic. Honestly, the fact that we got into the second season without talking about it until now, this far, it's impressive.
I know, it's kind of nuts.
It's impressive because music is such a large part of both of our lives and probably the lives of like most other people that it's just like, it's important to talk about.
Honestly, like, who's out there who doesn't like music?
Weird people.
Yeah.
Very,
I'm sure
very
there's at
weird
least
people.
one person who's like, I don't like that.
Oh, there are plenty of weird people like that who are like, oh, I don't really like music. Like, what do you mean you don't like music?
I'm like, you can not like some music, but you like music. You have to.
You have to. It's just
it's part of being
you.
Human.
Yeah, you would think, but
sicko.
So,
anywho,
as always, it's hella old.
Hella old.
It's so old. It is so, so old, which makes sense because, like, honestly, like, you can make music with your mouth, right?
Yeah.
You know, you can sing, you can,
like, tap your hands. And
you can use your body. You can chant and, you know, whatever day you want to do. I wanted to sing that, like, TikTok song, all day, every day, therapist, mother, you know what I mean? That's just like, yes, that slaps.
Yes. Even though I, like, sing it at the top of my lungs and I'm just, like, jamming
absolutely.
And then I'm like,
I don't feel this way about the person I'm with.
No.
But what a great song.
I actually chose correctly. But
for other people.
Yes, I'm like, but I've seen it.
So it's been around a long time. We know that. But our oldest known musical instruments are 40,000 years old.
Checks out.
What? That is so old.
Got to be the percussion.
Yes, a lot of percussion, and they were made from bones.
I know.
Bones.
Bone! How dare you, Detective Diaz?
I am your superior officer! Everything's so triggering to some sort of like TV show or other pop culture reference. If you don't understand that reference, what are you doing?
Honestly.
Literally, put down what you're doing. Stop listening to this podcast right now. Go turn on your TV and start watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine and don't stop until you hit that scene.
And then come back.
And then come back and revisit it.
Yeah.
So, yes, like you said, mostly percussion. It would just be like a lot of clapping and, you know, banging on whatever drums. And like we're doing a lot of dance moves over here that you can't really see. But like I feel like in An Awful World, the vibes would be immaculate.
Absolutely. This is when I wish, though, that like we had video for this podcast.
I know.
Because we are just like hands in the air. Like,
except I'm also like, I enjoy dressing like trash.
I know. I'm like, I'm in my pajamas and no makeup.
Yeah. I haven't washed my hair in like 4 days. It's a whole thing. You don't want to see this, I promise. So I'll just like give you sort of a play-by-play of like, you know, if I'm doing some...
She's voguing.
Vogue. Yeah. Vogue. So anyway, in ancient civilization, they start coming up with more like somewhat more sophisticated instruments like harps, lyres, flutes, but it was like mostly kept to like religious and royal settings. So like, you know, the monarchy had it because of their entertaining and whatever. And then the, you know, religious aspect of it is like the church has it because they do their like songs and their whatever they have.
Hymns.
Yes. And there's another thing in the Catholic Church, I feel like, that's like a chanty type song situation, but I can't think of what it's called.
I don't know. Shout out real quick to India, though, for being the first ones to use music for religious hymns.
Ooh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Shout out to India.
And also because the like that instrument they have, a centaur? No.
Nope. That
is half man, half horse. And then I thought Qatar, and I'm like, no, that's a country. It's some sort of, you know, it's like the Paint It Black. You know, boom, 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 boom. What is that?
I don't know.
And Andy plays one, and
yes, and it's
there's a place in France where the naked ladies dance.
Yes.
When they do a Moroccan Christmas. Okay, anyway.
Yes, anyway.
I can't think of what it's called right now. A sitar?
That sounds
It's
right.
a sitar. Yes. Okay. I knew I was, I got a little distracted with the centaur and I
I was like, tar sounds right. But
It's
the
a
beginning
little
is...
bovine. Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, it's Qatar. And I was like, it's not. Qatar and the plane. That's what's in my head right now. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So good for you, India. Thank you for making me question my knowledge of everything.
And this was like pre having notes for music and having like written music. But so
way pre.
Which cracks me up though, because it's kind of like, I'm sure other churches figured this out, but you know who didn't is the Catholic Church, because
they just do the
they're like, and Jesus was doing this one thing, and then there was this other person, amen. And I'm like,
it's monotone.
Yes, and I'm like, everybody's singing, but like kind of differently, and there are no notes. You're just reading from this book, and you're just kind of singing whatever you want, and it doesn't work out.
You're
like,
sing talking.
Yeah, I'm like, why couldn't you just like write a little tune? You know, give us a little ditty.
Yeah, give us a little.
That's
the kind of ditty we want.
Exactly. Not P Diddy.
No, we're not doing the freak offs. Gross. So yes, like Haylie just said, that was like pre them having like music, sheet music, even having like notes. Music theory didn't become a thing until like ancient Greece is kind of when they came up with it. And, the Greeks are all about the theater and everything. Mm-hmm. So it was a respected art for them, but it was also considered a science.
And like math.
Yes. And that's all so true.
And all the philosophers were like, is it a science?
Yes.
Is it an art?
And it's
is it mathematics?
It's all of the things.
Yes. And I'm like, you actually need them all.
Yeah. So my undergrad degree is in recording industry studies, which is really weird, right?
Or really cool.
I mean, it is really cool. I definitely I'm very glad I did it. I had fun. I had a lot of fun, but my God, my brain is not scientific enough for that.
I get that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I had to take a class strictly on microphone theory. Oh my God, was that hard? Same with my music theory class. It was difficult. It was very difficult for me because it's incredibly science heavy, the way sound, goes off of things and preamps and all this shit.
Yeah.
So, they were the first ones though to kind of be like, oh, this is so many things. It's not just art, which I feel like is a lot of what people think it is today, which in a lot of ways it is largely art, but it has some other elements to it as well. Mm-hmm. So then in medieval times, the music is mostly dominated by the aforementioned Catholic Church.
Of course.
Surprise. Yes. They start doing the Gregorian chants. That is that, send the Son of God, all of that. But then there also was in that medieval Renaissance-y type time, a lot of secular music. So troubadours and people traveling around, and they start singing songs not about religion, but about romance and, adventure and heartbreak and all these things, storytelling almost through their songs. And they started adding more things like fiddles and, flutes and all of this other stuff. And then the Renaissance happens. Beautiful time. That is when the first printed music occurs in the year 1501, which I really thought that sheet music was older than that.
Yeah, you would think.
But it's not.
Because you would think that people would be like, okay, I need a way to recreate this or give it to somebody else so they can do it. And, but think about storytelling and becoming books and stuff like that. It's all newer than we think.
Yeah, it's so much newer than we think, especially if you think about the Greeks being the one to sort of come up with music theory. Can you imagine coming up with that and being okay, we're going to have these things called scales. And there's going to be, this and that. And there's going to be a, here's how we're going to note it on paper and all. Can you imagine having to come up with all of that? That sounds incredibly complicated to me.
It does, but it feels fun. It feels like something that we would be we need a way to replicate this. And this is how I want to do it. We all need to sit down and come up with a system and see how to figure this out.
It's just wild to think about the fact that that didn't exist until 600 years ago, 550 years ago, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was just thinking about that. So much stuff must have just been heavily relied on to pass orally, just with like regular storytelling, right? These songs, they're just like passed down from generation to generation. Makes you wonder how old some of the things that we love are. You know, or like even as kids, like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, like how long has that been around? I don't know.
Right.
The Itsy Bitsy Spider, like, and everybody knows that.
Yes.
Everybody knows Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
Tune, and I've never once read the sheet music for Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. But I know the tune. But
you know the tune. Yes. And you could hum it right now if you had to. So anyway, then, you know, music kind of gets broken down into like different types of, you know, Baroque, and then
if it ain't broke,
don't fix it. That's right. And then classical period is like truly what I think of, honestly, when I think of like early music, which is so wrong because
it's been around
literally
since the dawn of time.
Way longer than 200 years. So classical music becomes a thing. And then, of course, in the 20th century, there's like a breakaway from traditionality and like moving towards like jazz music and then blues and then hip hop and rock and roll and R&B and all of these different things that like really over the last like 100 years have become such a thing.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about the way that music has changed so much that I don't necessarily think happened in the other, you know, thousands of years.
No,
predating it.
But it's also like in the early years, it was very much like, look, here's a new instrument. Here's a new instrument. And now it's kind of like, all right, we've got all the instruments.
Yeah.
What can we do with them? How can we switch it up? Because there's so much music now that like we can build upon it.
Yes.
Where at the beginning, it was just kind of like,
okay,
how do we use this new instrument?
Right.
Look, a new sound. Like everything for so long is like everything's so new. And now it's like, well, we've got everything.
Yeah. So
how do we make it new?
Yeah. Like when's the last time like an instrument was invented and then became like widely used?
Right.
It has to be forever ago.
Right.
Forever.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think some of that too is probably owed to the fact that people just like, I think this is something we've talked about so many times. People just had so much more free time on their hands.
Yes.
Because there weren't phones and television and like all these things that we use to like distract us and like keep our minds busy these days. Like people just didn't have that.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, people were super into like learning to play the piano. And then like that was a thing people did. Is like, oh, come over to my house and like we'll all like take turns playing songs on the piano, which just like, sounds weird.
Yeah.
Right. But like that was such a big thing. And then how that shifted to like, you know, in the age of like recorded music and then now like digital recorded music.
Yeah.
How much all of that has changed.
Yeah. And it used to be like, even when we were young, it was like, come over and listen to my new CD.
Right. Yes.
Like,
yes.
So it's like still we were, as human beings, we're all still doing the exact same thing.
Right.
Come over to my house and we'll play music. We'll listen to music.
It's just much more like disconnected almost than it was before.
Yeah.
Like there's not like a sense of like community around music.
Right.
But at the same time, I think music is one of those things that's like universally connects people.
100%.
People who don't speak the same language, people who, you know, are from opposite ends of the earth, like can find some sort of commonality usually in like the admiration of music.
Oh, absolutely.
Of some sort.
There's like Ed Sheeran, he has a new song and I can't remember what language it is. It's I think it's something Middle Eastern.
Okay.
It's the song's called like Azizam. And somebody was on TikTok talking about how it's a word from her country. And she was like, at first I like felt really confused as to why this, you know, white boy was using this word and like all of these things. And then she found out that like the same instruments that are from her country are the like very, very similar to Irish instruments, which is where obviously like his grandparents are from.
Right.
And they like traditional Irish music and traditional Middle Eastern music use the same like tempos of like a 4 something beat or something. And like they use the same kind of beats and they use the same kind of things. And he had a producer and a friend who worked on this who is Middle Eastern, who, you know, and he is very big on like using other languages to connect the world. And it's like a couple years ago, he did very like traditional Irish music into the pop world to kind of be like, look, like everything doesn't have to be so Americanized, like westernized. Like,
absolutely,
you can bring that in, and like the whole world loved it.
Right.
And it's the same thing with this new song. Everybody was like, wow, this is really good. Yeah. And it's like Middle Eastern, but it's also kind of westernized. And it's like, we can all have a good time no matter where you're from and what the music is. And like, you don't have to be like, oh, that's so old school traditional, like whatever. It's like, no, it's cool now. Yeah. You know, everybody's culture is cool. You just have to learn it.
Well, and I think it's inspired so many people to like learn things. And like, big example is like when the song Despacito came out.
Yes.
You have people who never had any desire to understand or to learn any Spanish who are all of a sudden like, I'm singing all the words to Despacito.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. I just was going to tell you that like last week, my niece, we were playing an axe throwing game, like a plastic one you get at Costco, right? This child who's 7 years old starts singing Waka Waka by Shakira. And I was like, where on earth did you like hear that? How do you know that song? Like, what? Where is this coming from? But also such a cool song because it has a foreign language in it. And it's very like, I don't even know what the word is, but I just love the feel of it, the sound of it. And I was just like, this is hysterical because she like did that song for like the World Cup in Africa like 15 years ago or something insane. And my 7-year-old niece is singing, you know, whatever language it is. I have no idea what the language is, but I know all the words to the song. I love that song. And it was so funny. But yeah, it's like, it is interesting that it connects our cultures like that. And, that there are artists like Ed Sheeran that want to do that and like want to make it new and exciting.
Yeah.
And I think that's like most of my beef with like certain types of music. So I grew up like a big country music fan. I loved country music. And then as I've, you know, gotten older and I've started to listen to different things, new things, but also like really, really old, not really, really old, but like I love like classic rock, like 60s, 70s rock is awesome. I love 80s, like hair bands, whatever. And as I've gotten older, like and I've grown an appreciation for those things, I have lost like some appreciation for especially modern country music because it's not exciting.
No,
like it's the same combination of chords. It all kind of sounds the same. The topics are like kind of similar. It's just like it doesn't do it for me anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I just think that there's so many different types of music. There's something out there for everybody. So people who don't like music are insane. And one of the things that I looked up is that apparently Immanuel Kant in his hierarchy of needs put music at the very bottom. He was like, people don't actually need that.
Oh, yes, you do.
Oh, you're ridiculous.
Nothing is comforting like
wrong.
Like one of your favorite songs.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Like
it's soothing.
Yes. And it's something that you can bond with other people over, bond over with other people and things like that, you know, like it's just so great. And I don't know, but I just love that it's so like connecting and like storytelling and, you know, and it's always growing and evolving and things like that.
Yeah,
and every single day. And it's been used for everything. It's been used for religion. It's been used for freedom. It's been used when people are oppressed. It's been used like
because it speaks to people.
Yes, for everything.
And it's like also a way to like get your message across, whatever your message may be.
Yeah. And now this is one question that I had because obviously we would come up with music.
At 100%.
Obviously. Because
both of us are the type of people that walk around our houses like, people.
Yeah, we're just
you know what I mean?
Singing
just constantly.
Whatever we're doing.
Yeah, whatever's stuck in your head at the time.
All morning long, I kept singing Hot Cross Buns just because it was stuck in my head. Time was like, why? And I was like,
wow. Yeah, that's a classic for sure.
And
Hot Cross Buns.
And so I definitely think that we would have music, you know, no problem there. But, you know, most songs, I feel like, are about love or hate or, you know, whatever. And I was like, how many songs in an awful world are about our pets?
You know, I don't know.
These are the real questions because and I'm talking every song that I'm singing, I'm turning it into lyrics about my pet.
Yes, I know that about you.
So,
yeah, I don't know.
I'm just saying Karma from Taylor Swift is my song with Quinny. Quinny is a dog. Quinny is my best friend. Quinny is the breeze in my hair on the weekend.
perfectly describes Quinny.
Exactly.
It really does. I don't know. I think what I like so much about music, because some people are heavy, like strictly the sound people, right? Mm-hmm. They like the sound of something. Mm-hmm. Other people are the lyrical people. Yeah. I fall in the category of lyrical people. Mm-hmm. I'm always paying attention to the lyrics, not so much to the sound. And I love a good story. So if a pet can be incorporated that way, then yeah, that's great. I love that.
Which is funny because I'm way more about the sound. I don't really care what the words are. Songs that make literally no sense, I don't even notice until like 10 years later. Yeah. And then I'm like, oh my God.
And you're like, cuckoo, I am the Eggman. Yeah. What did they mean?
And I'm like, what is this person saying?
I'm always just like, I like the sound of this, but it's like, you're losing me with the, you know what I mean? Just like, and that's just like, different strokes for different folks type of thing. Like I'm just like much more of a lyrics person and connect with the lyrics of things more. So I don't know.
I don't know. I just feel like a lot of Haylies, they'd be writing a lot of songs about their pets.
I'm sure they would be. I'm sure that they would be.
People would be like, wow, they really love some woman named Quinny.
Yeah, it's like, oh, contraire. Like,
that is
not a woman.
Actually. Yeah. It is what it is.
It is.
So, still about love.
Absolutely. Different. Yeah, it's just a different kind of love.
Yeah.
Well, it is interesting, too, like throughout history to see that shift to like it really started out not at all being about life or hardships or whatever, but almost strictly religion, right? Yeah. Like songs were a way to honor God, which is great. But then also there's all these, things about life that people want to talk about and like process. Yeah. Like some people who are like songwriters, that's their way of processing through things of just like, let me get my thoughts out right now on exactly how I'm feeling.
And I think that like a lot of that though they were like, well, that's what poetry is for.
Yeah.
Because that's what Immanuel Kant thought. He was like, the music is annoying. But poetry is cool. So it's kind of like, well, if your songs are for religion, you don't really need that.
Yeah.
You need poetry to talk about your feelings. So it's kind of like, well, just put those to music.
Yeah.
And also, I'm sorry, but like religious or not, because we know where we both fall on that scale. But like, is that all you want to talk about? Is that all you want to sing about?
Yeah. So I've thought about that too. And also I think like, there are some, like Christian bands that I like and I enjoy listening to their music and the subject matter is mostly about their faith. Mm-hmm. But again, it's like a lot of it is the same qualm that I have with regular music, country music, is that it gets to be sounding all the same. Mm-hmm. You're not saying anything meaningful anymore. You're sort of just making this for the sake of making it. Mm-hmm. And I don't like that. I want you to like use your talent that God gave you to be creative and to make something different and new.
Yeah.
And honestly, a group of people that has been so amazing at that we owe, the last 120 years of music to is the Black community.
Yes.
All of the music almost that we listen to today has its roots somewhere in the Black community.
Absolutely.
So it's all just like, blues, and then blues kind of slowly transitioned into rock and jazz, also from the Black community, like all of these things. And I feel like that's really where that, like, I don't know if it was it just like a product of the times in a sense where they were just so good at being able to truly express how they felt, whether that was like through just the song itself or the words, like, or both. I don't know. But I'll tell you why I disagree with Immanuel Kant, because first of all, I don't like Immanuel Kant. Let's start there. He's one of my least favorite philosophers. And I, don't know many philosophers, so that's not saying a lot. But anyway, so the Hunger Games. Mm-hmm. I know that you're like, where's this going?
I know.
Well, I'll tell you. So a couple years ago, the Hunger Games came out with like a prequel.
Right.
It was about like President Snow's life, right? And one of the characters in that book is like, does a lot of singing because she comes from a place where like, that's their thing that they do. That's how they earn their money and they, whatever. And they're kind of like nomadic and whatever. And so the songs that she sings are like written out in the book.
And I hate that. Yes. I absolutely cannot stand that.
I know, because I can't. My brain isn't good enough to be able to come up with how that should sound. So I just feel stupid.
They're not putting the music in it. They're just putting the words. And I'm like, I have to come up with the tune?
Yes.
So then I just read it as a poem and I'm like, this isn't fun.
And then I'm like, I don't like it. It doesn't sound that great.
I can never be like, yeah, this would be a good song. Because I'm just like, the fuck is this?
Yes. And that's how I felt every time.
It makes me so mad.
Now, when the movie came out, they brought said songs to life. They used the
Were they good?
Oh my God, that soundtrack is phenomenal.
Okay.
Phenomenal. And I don't know, you've seen some of the Hunger Games movies, right?
I saw the first one.
Okay. Well, there's a song from like the first 3 that's called The Hanging Tree that is just, God, what a good song. Like even Brian will be like, are you coming to the tree? And I'm like, yes.
Oh, okay. I do know that song.
Yes.
I don't know
yeah. That's from the Hunger Games.
Okay.
But like Suzanne Collins, the author of the Hunger Games, like she wrote those lyrics.
Oh.
But it's so much cooler to see them actually bring it to life.
Right.
Like, and I love that fucking soundtrack now. So like, I disagree with you, Immanuel Kant. That is not just like poetry, because some people don't have both, right?
Right.
Like Elton John, for example, amazing composer of music.
Yes.
When he hooked up with Bernie Taupin, it was all over for the world.
100%.
Because Bernie's words and Elton's music, I mean, it makes you feel things.
Yes. And this is why, like, you know, Taylor Swift, she writes all her music. Fantastic. Good for her. Very talented.
Yes.
However, because people like Taylor Swift exist and they do all of those things, people 100% shit on people who have writers. And I'm like, that's... Like, look at Elton John. He doesn't write those words, but he's fantastic.
Yes.
And you cannot tell me that he's not talented. And obviously, I'm always going to bring up Britney Spears, but like, she doesn't write the majority of her music, but she is very, very talented.
Right.
But then she wrote Every Time, and that song is fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey.
She has the ability.
Yes, but okay, some other people, though, write those songs and they can't sing them.
Exactly.
So why is that wrong that they team up and you still get something wonderful out of it?
Yes.
So why are you shitting on them?
And that happens all the time.
You didn't write it. You didn't sing it.
Right.
Shut up.
You didn't do either of those things, so you're not that great.
Exactly.
And so much of the time, too, I feel like there are musicians who write songs, which is just a thing, right? And like that's been a thing for a long time. Like in like the 60s and 70s, they had like Tin Pan Alley, and people like Carole King, all she would do were, you know, write these songs and then give them to other artists to record. Because at that time, it wasn't about the like art aspect of the words as much as it was about the person being able to like sing well.
Right.
Right. Hence why the 50s were such a dark time in so many ways, because like Splish Splash, I was taking a bath.
I love that song.
I
sing it all the time.
It's like why I don't love some of like the Beach Boys, because I'm just like, I don't know. It's just not for me.
Anytime our cat is taking a bath, I have to sing it to her. I was just singing it yesterday.
That's a little bit different, but just think about like hearing that on the radio. I can't put myself there. It's just so unserious to me.
I know, but again, you're a lyrics person.
I know. And I don't mean to like shit on, you know, Bobby Darin or whoever the hell recorded that song.
Change the words in your head. Who cares?
That's true. Yeah.
I do it all the time.
I know you do, because you're much more creative like that than I am ever. But that happens all the time, where people like write songs and then they give them to other artists, and then that person, you know, maybe someday has their moment in the sun and they're like, well, yeah, I wrote this, but like I let such and such record it because like I couldn't do it justice. Like my version just wasn't like, it wouldn't like, even though I wrote it and came from my head, I couldn't make it sound like I wanted to sound.
Yeah.
So there's artistry on all levels of that.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
Being able to sing is an amazing talent. Being able to write is amazing talent.
Yeah. And play the instruments.
Both, that's amazing. Like that truly, Taylor Swift is amazing. She's a genius, a lyrical genius.
Now, on the topic of instruments, though.
Yes.
How many instruments do you think we could come up with?
I'm glad you asked this question, because I didn't really think about this as much. And it's tough because music is such a broad category, right? That there's a lot to unpack. I think I feel confident about percussion.
Now, questions on percussion.
Okay.
Are we putting like hollow
animal
things?
Skin?
Are we doing animal skins? Are we using bones? Are we using sticks? Because I feel really good about sticks.
I know you do. And I feel fine about bones because I'm just going to harp back to previous episodes.
I know.
I'm the curious one that's like, let me check that out. Let me grab that. Maybe I can use that to my advantage. Or, I mean, you got to think that, like, I don't know, maybe they like had a tent that they made out of animal hide and then the rain started hitting it. And it was like, boom, 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 boom. And they were like, whoa, and then love the sound of that. They started singing Toto's Africa, you know. Hear the drums echo in the night.
Now, here's something. I feel like we'd be really into acapella.
Oh, absolutely. My entire life is an acapella.
Yes.
Like, I'm always singing.
Do you think we'd be singing in rounds, or do you think we'd be like, you're interrupting? You're behind.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Like when they're like, row, row, row your boat.
Row, row, row your boat. Yes. Yeah. See, I think that's very fun. I love that kind of stuff.
Too, but do you think like the first person who did that, you were like, you came in late?
I don't know. That's a good question.
You're bugging me.
I can't do this. It's like when I try to like sing harmony sometimes.
Yeah.
And then I start thinking about like the person that's singing, you know, the actual tune. And I'm just like, I like can't sing the harmony anymore.
Ty's always like, oh, what a lovely harmony. And I'm like, thank you. Music's too low for me. I have a very high pitched voice. I have to sing at a higher register.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, I feel confident about the percussion and the acapella. Let's talk about stringed instruments because stringed instruments, for those of you who don't know, I play a couple of them, and I feel very comfortable with string instruments. Like I feel confident that you could hand me a string instrument and I could pick it up. Okay. The question is coming up with that, building it, because like guitars, I know it seems fairly basic. It's a box. It's hollow in the center. It's got strings across it.
And it has like a handle.
And it
like
has
a neck.
Yes, a neck and frets.
But didn't you ever watch Barney when you were a kid? And they're like, you can make a like little guitar out of rubber bands and a like, tissue box and like a paper towel roll.
Yes. I mean, yes, you can come up with it. Excellent bass.
Thank you.
My question is though, like, does it ever get sophisticated? Because the way guitars are today,
it's insane.
Incredibly sophisticated.
Who used to be our boss, but is now just your boss. He does woodworking.
Yes.
And he would always come over to my cubicle and show me all the pictures. And there would be like 500 little like binder clips and clamps.
And I know this because he just showed me that like 2 weeks ago. He just showed me pictures. Because
was he like, Haylie's not here?
Pretty much. Just like I feel empty without her. And I'm like, well, I was showing off my pen that you made me. And so then we got to talking about woodworking. And I was like, I'm really not the person to talk to about this because I don't know anything.
Yeah. But he would take like a 10-day class and then they would be like 10-hour days and then like all of this stuff or whatever. And it is so extreme. And then you pick your wood and then the wood makes different sounds. And blah, blah, blah. But I definitely think that we would come up, because we already know we would come up with string. Yeah. You know? And then we would put string on something and then we would
be like, ooh, like that sounds fun.
Yeah. And we would just like, I think we could mess around something. And I think we would have less options. It's not like we're coming up with like electric guitars or anything.
No.
You know?
We'll get to that later.
And I don't know that they would be what we have now, because now it's like they've got those like the strings of a guitar are like coiled wires and stuff, you know? Yeah. And then there are some like on a ukulele that are more of like a
nylon.
Yes, I was like something plasticky, because Ty has a ukulele.
It's nylon,
and so there's all sorts of different like materials,
because they're also those create different sounds. Because you can put nylon strings on your acoustic guitar and it sounds cool and different.
And I love the way ukulele sounds. And it's like
or you put brass strings on a guitar and it sounds you know what I mean. So all those different sounds. I
definitely think we could get there. Now, the thing that I'm concerned with is, could we have like flutes, woodwinds?
I think so, and I'll tell you why.
Tell me why.
Because I'm always that annoying I'm always that annoying person that like I'm drinking out of a, bottle And then when it gets to the right point and I'm just like, ooh,
yes.
Ooh, did anybody hear that train? And then people are like, oh my God, ignore her. I'm that person. So I think we could be like, there's something going on here.
Yeah.
Like, what's happening? Why can we recreate this?
Yeah.
Now, I've never tried to play, a flute.
Now, a flute
seems the most basic, right? Or like a recorder.
Yes.
So, we could come up with that.
I think perhaps we could come up with the recorder. Now, I played the clarinet.
Oh God, I don't know how you do that. I don't know. I don't understand reed instruments.
I like it. You have to press your tongue up against the reed, but you have to soak the reed in your mouth. So we would all be sucking on our reed all day, and then you have to go put it in, and then you're like,
see, and this is why I don't understand.
Kind of sound, and it's a whole thing.
I can't even whistle, so I don't have high hopes that I'll be able to figure that out. But go ahead.
But Ty and I were just talking about this the other day, and because he said something about the saxophone he was like, the saxophone is
so underutilized. He
was like, it is the sexiest woodwind instrument. And then he was like, no, brass. And then I was like, but it is a woodwind, in the fact that it has a reed.
Yeah.
And he was like, right, but I think it's technically the brass category. And I was like, yeah, let's call it the brass category because that can't be the sexiest woodwind, right?
Because of clarinet.
Yeah. And he was like, oh, because you played the clarinet. And I was like, yeah. And he said, do you think that if you were given the clarinet today, because I played in middle school, he's like, do you think you could figure it out? And I was like, I think if you gave me 20 minutes alone, I could pull out some hot cross buns like I was pretending to clean my room late at night and when I would find the recorder every 6 years.
Yeah, and then you'd be like, okay.
And you're testing all the notes to be like, which one makes that sound?
Absolutely.
And I'm like, I could probably play a little hot cross buns, a little La Cucaracha, the basics. I could get those out. But, I couldn't pull out the songs that we played for band. We played Hey Ya.
Ooh, how fun.
It was very fun.
I was in choir, so I didn't have...
I also did choir.
Oh.
I did choir, band,
some people have it all.
Chimes.
Ooh, I would love chimes.
See,
yes.
We could come up with chimes.
Absolutely.
And boom, boom, and then you snap them on your shoulders.
And then you do jingle bells and all kinds of stuff. Ugh. Now, let me ask you this. In terms of the sexiness of instruments, I'm going to give you 2 names.
Okay.
And you tell me which is sexier, the saxophone or the clarinet. Duke Silver.
Oh.
Squidward.
Oh. Obviously Duke Silver.
Yeah.
Obviously.
And so that's the argument against the clarinet.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But I played the clarinet.
No, I know. So, and you're amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm not sexually attracted to you, so I don't want to talk about
rude, but whatever.
That necessarily.
Ouch.
I just don't go that way. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think we could. And also, the kind of flutes that are they're just different, they're tubes of different lengths. Yeah. One of those, like Lizzo's, not the, not that one, but the, I wish you guys could see the
pan flute.
Yes,
the
pan flute. Yeah.
And he's like,
exactly.
Yes,
we could come up with that.
We could absolutely come up with that.
And didgeridoos. You think we could come up with those?
I don't know. Could we?
Or rain sticks.
I bet we could come up with a rain stick.
Easily. That's an easy instrument to make.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the percussion
Feels
ones.
Like a tube full of rice.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, maybe I need a rainmaker. That just sounds comforting to me. Just just listening to the
Then
rice.
I would just be like, I have to pee.
So those things, wind instruments to an extent, I'll say. Because a harmonica, am I coming up with that? No. I don't know how a harmonica works now.
I don't either. Now, something back to percussion, I think we could come up with the xylophone.
Yeah, I think we could too. Similar idea, right? Yeah. In terms of the length of the plates.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the pan flute, but for percussion.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we could come up with that for sure. God, I fuck with a xylophone, you know? Mm-hmm. You know when a child gets a xylophone and you're like, give me a second to see that. And you're just like, dun, dun, dun.
And then you're like, yes, I love this.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah.
And you're like, I wish I played the xylophone.
You ever see the girl on TikTok that plays rap songs on child instruments?
No.
It's hysterical. I'll have to send you one because it's hysterical.
Have you seen that guy who's adding the saxophone to every single song makes it better?
Yes.
And I'm always like,
it's true. It's such an underutilized instrument. Mm-hmm. When, Taylor Swift released Shake It Off in 2014, I remember being like, what is this horn section? This is amazing. I didn't know this could be done. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those types of things, I'm feeling confident about.
Brass feels difficult.
Yeah, because I don't know how first of all, there's a lot of, factors. How are we going to acquire the brass? How do they even bend it into the shape of a tuba?
Yeah.
How
do you make those buttons on the trumpet?
I don't know.
And who's going to be like, what's going to make this like crazy beautiful sound is going with your lips?
Yeah.
Or like the trombone. That's the long one like this, right?
Yep.
Okay. So like my first boyfriend in middle school, he played the trombone.
Whoa.
And what's really disgusting is watching them clean out their spit trap.
No, thank you. That's gross.
It's disgusting.
Thank you.
You have to have like a sink in the band room so that they can like empty their spit trap.
What separates a trombone from a trumpet?
What do you mean?
Are they the same thing? No, because trumpets don't have the arm.
A trumpet is like a horn with buttons on the top.
You're right.
The trombone is like long and...
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like a trombone better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like... Boom, boom, boom. And then the trumpet's like...
Yes. Tabs. Okay, so now, do you think we could come up with a kazoo? Because do you remember when I got a kazoo?
Yes, and you were obsessed.
And I was just doing every song on my kazoo. I wish I would have brought it. I think I threw it away because Brian was like going to kill me in my sleep.
I definitely like went home and told Ty about that. And then I was like, for her bachelorette party, should I buy kazoos in bulk?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm not like maid of honor or anything, but like, what if I just showed up with like kazoos that say like Libby and Brian forever?
I want that. Especially because they're like 40 cents. It costs nothing to make a kazoo. Nothing.
Now, here's the thing. I don't really understand a kazoo because first of all, it's like a weird shape.
It is. And it's got the thing on the top.
But what looks like it has like a little piece of tissue paper in it.
Yeah, which is what gives it that sound.
So you're literally just vibrating that paper.
Yes, because here's the thing about the kazoo. I think we could too.
It wouldn't be plastic though.
See the plastics episode to talk about that.
Can you have a metal kazoo?
I don't see why not.
That's true.
Yeah, I bet they do have metal kazoos.
That was a compelling argument.
That's true. Thank you. I
don't see why
make
not.
a great point. Yeah. I'm sure pre-plastic kazoos existed.
I hope so.
So, but here's what threw me off about when I was given said kazoo. I thought you just had to like blow into it really hard, like a party popper thing. You know. Not so. It's really just like a, like.
Yeah, you kind of have to. You kind of like yourself.
Sing into it, and then but it makes it sound cooler. Yes. Man, I had so much fun. Like literally, we were rewatching Succession, and I was just like doing the Succession song while it was playing, and he was just like, "I'm gonna kill you." God, I love a kazoo. Anyway, I think we could come up with a kazoo. I'm trying to think of some other instruments, like
what about like the triangle or like cymbals?
Again, those are all very percussion based instruments, and I feel very confident.
I definitely think I could make
percussion. Just makes sense, you know.
And as the one who thinks that she could be the blacksmith, I could make a triangle out of metal.
You absolutely could. I'm confident in that.
I think it'd be probably one of the first things I did. I'd
be like, look, I bent it.
This.
Yeah. No, I totally think you could
with a piece
because
of wood.
you make these like, woodworking things. And I'm always just like, I just don't even understand the mechanics that go into that. And I don't want to. So
okay. I don't really either. I'm just like, this spins and then I'm going to
I do this. Blip.
I don't really need to know how the machine works.
Yeah.
I'm just going to use it.
Now, what about pianos?
That doesn't seem possible.
I agree. And I say that because, again, I don't know how a piano works now.
Because, okay, it's almost like I press buttons and then somewhere behind the screen...
Pay no mind to the man behind the curtain.
Exactly. It's like someone back there is like banging on some stuff. So it's like kind of percussion, kind of a keyboard.
Yeah, it's like a lever, right?
Yeah. But it like hits a little hammer kind of thing back there, and it's like dong dong,
yeah.
dong. That's not how
like, wow, this is a Stratohalis.
Very magical, and like that feels like such a bummer because like the piano is so beautiful.
It is.
It's a gorgeous instrument. But do I see us having one?
No. And also, here's the thing: I have really short fingers. I could not be a pianist even if I wanted to.
I have very long fingers,
skinny,
perfect for a piano.
Mine are like sausage links. They're just.
I also have like carpal tunnel, so I'm like,
oh yeah, that would be hard.
This hurts
for sure. That's why I'm more suited for the guitar. Because for the most part, it's all, right there. Except sometimes you get some really crazy
and then you're
chords. And you're like, well, how do I get my pinky over there?
Yeah. See, and like the thing is like Ty plays guitar. And so he's tried to show me some things. And I'm always like, yeah, but my finger doesn't reach over there.
You just got to keep trying.
Have long fingers. And I'm like, if my fingers don't reach, how do other people's reach?
And like sometimes you hold a guitar like so high that you're using your thumb on like the top string, So... It's all very complicated, but piano I'm not feeling good about, which again, that's a real bummer.
How do you feel about the harp? Because what I like is the strings and like whatever, but it's so big and what an odd shape.
It is big and it is oddly shaped, but again, it's the same idea. It's the length of the string.
That's true. It's the changing flute of the string world.
Exactly.
You are correct.
Do you think that some like amazing harp player is going to listen to this and be like, it is the pan flute of the string world. I've been saying this for years. Yes. Like Bing pot. It's the same idea though. And that's why it's shaped the way it is, right? Because it's like holding those.
But do you think that people like Haylie's and Libby's would be like, yes, my arms can reach this whole thing? Or would we be like, this is a 2-person instrument?
I don't know.
Maybe like
they just wouldn't be as big. But harps are so dreamy sounding.
I know, they are.
Just like
I know. And it's just like, they look so beautiful.
They do.
And I love seeing one at a wedding. And I'm like,
yes, I know.
Maybe you should get one for your wedding.
Oh, man.
Me, just like, this is like the one suggestion I've ever given.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I'm like, this is your wedding.
It's
but I'm
beautiful.
Like,
and they play Invisible String while I walk down the aisle. I'm just saying. Which I said that to my mom about like, I'm thinking, wouldn't it be cool if I did that? And she's like, yeah, but what about Love Story?
Okay.
And I was like, well, that's like a 15-year-old's idea of like what like true love is like.
Yes.
And true love is not like that.
No.
At all. There's a lot that comes with the true love.
Yes.
That they don't put in the Disney movies or the early Taylor Swift albums.
Because she was like 15.
She was, exactly, which is why it's a great song. I love the song.
Yes.
But it's not a song that I feel like describes like how like real adult love feels.
No, but it's nostalgic. It takes you back to when you were like 13 listening to it for the first time. And you're like, oh.
I'm like, oh my God. Stay away from Juliet. And he was like, no. So anyway,
no.
No. So that was the harp you just asked me about. Okay. So we've covered a lot of different types of instruments. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we're feeling good about the things that I was going to say harp on that play on that idea, the pan flute idea. Just
if
like
it's pan flute related, we are in.
Like xylophones. What is a xylophone? Like, is that a percussive? Like what?
Yeah.
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 All right.
You bang on it.
I mean, yeah, but it feels less like a percussive sound. I think that's what throws me off.
It's because it's very dainty.
Ding, 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 ding. Yeah.
We were doing our workout this morning and Ty was like, I hate this xylophone sound. And I was like, I love it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, boop, 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 boop. He was like, ugh.
I literally said, mere minutes ago that I fuck with xylophones. So I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that feels like a broad range of, I feel like we've covered all the main instrument groups.
Yeah. The thing that is a bummer to me is I love pop music.
Oh, yeah.
And I just don't think we'll get there as an awful society. There's so much electricity that plays into pop music.
There is.
And we can make things like fun and like puppy, but like without electricity, it will be different.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things are going to be different in Awful World because without electricity, if we wouldn't have electricity, we don't have, I mean, really probably not coming up with recorded music.
Yeah, probably not.
Not that you necessarily need it to do that, because in the early, you know, in the like 1880s when they started doing that stuff, they didn't use electricity to accomplish that.
That's true.
But I don't think we're coming up with that because it's really kind of a complicated system, and God only knows like digitally how it works, because I don't.
What if we just had parrots?
Yeah. Okay. And they help us. They like, you know, spread the songs around.
Yeah. They listen to us and they learn the songs, and then we like let them free and they go sing them elsewhere.
You'll have to be the keeper of the parrots because I don't really like birds.
I know. I don't really like birds either, except for like flamingos.
Yeah.
You know, I like them from afar.
Flightless bird.
But I don't want them like in my house.
No. And honestly, I'll be honest, parrots kind of freak me out.
Because they talk?
Mm-hmm.
See, I kind of like their little voices. There's like...
It's the timbre of their voice that bothers me.
Oh, see, I like that.
There is a really funny video of a guy that has a parrot, and like it overheard the TV and it was screaming like, help me and all this stuff. And the police came over and he's like, it's my parrot. Like, like somebody called because they just heard like, help me.
So I have an aunt who used to have a parrot, and they also had dogs.
Oh God, did it bark?
Well, when their dogs would do something bad, they had a pool, so they just like kept like a little water like squirt gun around that they'd fill in the pool all summer long and stuff. And they would always say, "Don't make me get the gun," because they'd like shoot it with water when it would do something bad. And so like one time in the middle of the night, one of their kids was coming home, and their bird was like, "Don't make me get the gun."
That's crazy.
They were like, "Oh my God."
How do parrots do that? Like, I don't understand.
I don't know. But also, how do we do that?
Yeah, I know. But it's like parrots don't have like the consciousness that we have.
You don't know that. I mean, they have smaller brains, but like
bird brains.
They're just like on a smaller level.
But like, how do they like, I don't.
They have feelings. They have thoughts.
But we can't make any other animals articulate like in the same way that we do.
Yeah, but they're just speaking a different language.
They're just repeating back to you. It's called parroting. Explain to me how parrots work, damn it.
I don't know how parrots work. I don't even know how we work. That's the whole point of this. I don't know how anything works.
That's not how this works. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But I would like more dance music in an awful world. I think
that's going to be no problem because we're going to be a percussive heavy society.
That's true. That's true.
Yes.
I think we would. Do you think though that like we could come up with like a theater version of Pitch Perfect?
Oh yeah,
because
I think so.
All acapella.
Yeah, acapella would be great.
It would be very cool.
I love acapella. Like watching it is so fun.
Mm-hmm. And I love those singing Christmas boys.
Yes. Straight No Chaser.
Yep, I never know their name.
The Singing Christmas Boys.
That's right.
And obviously Pentatonics.
Yes.
Which is also just another like. Really, when you think Pentatonics, you think Christmas. But
yes, 100%. When I think acapella, I think Christmas or Pitch Perfect, the end.
I have never once listened to any of Pentatonics' non-Christmas albums.
We went and saw Straight No Chaser for Christmas last year. And then last year? 2 years ago? Something like that.
Yeah.
2 years. And I thought they only sang Christmas songs because we saw them on Christmas Eve. And it was like an hour of other songs. And I was like, I swear to fucking God, if they do not play a Christmas song and I don't hear them sing the Christmas one where they put Toto in the middle, I will riot.
See, I was just about to say that because Straight No Chaser, I think, is from Indiana.
They are.
And so there's also like a collegiate Straight No Chaser from IU.
Yes.
And
that's where they started.
Okay. Yes. So I've seen like the collegiate level. They came to my high school one year.
Oh, fun.
And that is where I first heard Toto by Africa by Toto.
Yeah.
And so whenever I think about that song, I just think about them doing it a cappella and how fucking cool it was. And I was like, this is a great song. I can't believe they came up with this. And then they're like, nope, this is a very popular song. Like, cool. No doubt. So, yeah.
Because that's where they came from. And then like the older ones just like tour and do this. And I think like younger ones like slowly
kind of
like
move their way up.
Yeah.
Okay.
But when we saw them though, they kept like joking that Mark McGrath was going to come on tour with them. And he was in like videos.
From Third Eye Blind, Haylie?
Yes.
Kidding. I know they're in Sugar Ray.
But they're the same, so it's fine.
It's fine.
But they like did like videos with him, like them being on the phone with him, and he was in these, and I was like, I swear to God,
he walks out
if
here.
Sugar Ray comes onto this stage, I will lose it. And then he didn't. And I was
that's
pissed.
rude. You got trolled.
I did. Mark McGrath is always trolling me.
Yeah, that's.
And I don't understand why he hates me, and I love him and both of his bands.
It's a vibe, you know. Sugar Ray gives off a very distinct vibe.
Yes.
When I think of Third Eye Blind, I think of, won't you step back from that ledge, my friend.
That's the only one where I'm like, that's not Sugar Ray.
Yeah.
All the other ones, I'm like, they are
distinctly
Sugar Ray.
Third Eye Blind.
Yeah. I feel like we should do a game this summer and like put it on the Patreon of like me listening to these songs and trying to figure out if it's Sugar Ray or Third Eye Blind.
I think then you do that. My challenge will be, can you tell if it's Taylor's version or the original version? Because I think I'd be good at that.
I would be so bad at that.
I've studied this for 16 years.
I know.
I've been waiting for a quiz like this. But yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll put it on the Patreon.
Yeah, we definitely will. And like, if you're a listener, you should definitely get on the Patreon, and maybe I'll tell you like a funny story about how my love for Rob Thomas has embarrassed me on many occasions, especially the song Smooth.
Yeah, that's true.
Featuring Santana.
And you can see our Hear Me Out cake.
Yeah, you want to see that. Trust me. So do you have anything else to say about music? I mean, there's so much else to say.
There's so much more to say about music, but I feel like we've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
So I think we're good on music for today. Maybe we'll do part 2.
Yeah, maybe.
Boogaloo.
Yeah, Electric Boogaloo. Yeah, maybe we talk about like more specific music topics or something. But again, it's like literally, 40,000 years of music history. So anyway.
Yeah, get on our Patreon and tell us what you want to hear about music.
That's patreon.com/anawfulworldpodcast.
That's right.
Check us out at all the places: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to all of your podcasts. And we'll see you next time. But until then, we hope your day is simply awful.
Wow.